What if everything you thought you knew about time was just one tiny piece of a much larger puzzle? For the ancient Maya, time wasn't a straight line marching forward. It was a spiral, a cycle repeating itself every 52 years, like the turning of a cosmic wheel. This idea might feel strange to us today, but it's just one of countless ways humanity has tried to grasp the elusive nature of time. Across cultures, from the sunlit pyramids of Egypt to the shadowy forests of Norse mythology, time has been personified, deified, and endlessly reimagined. It's a concept so universal, yet so mysterious, that every civilization has woven its own stories to explain it. In this video, we're diving into the rich tapestry of myths and beliefs that have shaped humanity's understanding of time. We'll explore how ancient cultures saw time not as a cold, ticking clock, but as a living, breathing force intertwined with God's nature and human destiny. From the cyclical time of the Maya to the linear time of the Greeks, from the eternal present of the Aboriginal Dreamtime to the apocalyptic visions of the Norse, each myth offers a unique lens through which to view this timeless question: what is time really? And how have we, as humans, tried to make sense of it? By the end of this journey, you'll not only discover how these ancient beliefs still echo in our modern world, but you might also find yourself questioning your own relationship with time. So, are you ready to step into the realm of myth and uncover the ways humanity has grappled with one of life's greatest mysteries? Let's begin. In the ancient lands of Mesopotamia, time wasn't a straight line stretching endlessly into the future. It was a circle, a never-ending loop of creation, destruction, and rebirth. For the Mesopotamians, the rhythms of nature were the heartbeat of existence. The rising and setting of the sun, the phases of the moon, the flooding of the rivers, all of these natural cycles were seen as reflections of a deeper cosmic order. Time for them wasn't something to be measured in minutes or hours, but in the endless dance of the heavens and the earth. At the center of this world view was the Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation myth. This epic tale tells of a cosmic battle between the gods where order emerges from chaos and the world is born anew. But this creation isn't a one-time event, it's a cycle. The gods' struggles and triumphs aren't just stories from the past, they're ongoing, happening over and over again in a grand celestial loop. The Mesopotamians believed that this divine rhythm shaped everything from the seasons to the fate of kings. Astrology played a crucial role in their understanding of time. The movements of the stars and planets weren't just random events, they were messages from the gods, clues to the repeating patterns of the universe. The zodiac, with its 12 signs, became a map of time itself, a way to predict the cycles of life, death, and renewal. For farmers, this knowledge was essential. The planting and harvesting of crops were tied to the stars, ensuring that their agricultural practices aligned with the cosmic order. Religion and daily life were deeply intertwined with this cyclical view of time. Rituals and festivals weren't just celebrations, they were acts of participation in the divine cycle. By honoring the gods through ceremonies, the Mesopotamians believed they could help maintain the balance of the universe, ensuring that the cycle of creation and renewal continued without interruption. This idea of time as a repeating cycle wasn't just a philosophical concept, it was a way of life. It shaped how they saw their place in the world, connecting them to the rhythms of nature and the will of the gods. But while the Mesopotamians saw time as a circle, other cultures would come to see it very differently. The Greeks, for example, would take a more linear approach, viewing time as a progression rather than a repetition. But that's a story for another moment. In Greek mythology, time wasn't just a backdrop to the stories, it was a central force, shaping the lives of gods and mortals alike. The Greeks saw time as linear, a straight path with a clear beginning and an inevitable end. This idea is rooted in their creation myth, where everything began with chaos, a formless void. From chaos emerged the first gods, who set the stage for the world as we know it. But even in this ordered universe, time was relentless, always moving forward, never looping back. At the heart of this linear concept was Chronos, the personification of time itself. Often depicted as an old, bearded man, Chronos wasn't just a passive observer, he was a driving force. He consumed everything in his path, symbolizing how time devours all things. And yet, Chronos wasn't alone in his power. He worked in tandem with the Fates, three sisters who spun, measured, and cut the threads of life. Together, they represented the unyielding march of time and the inevitability of destiny. No one, not even the gods, could escape their influence. This idea of time as an unbreakable force is echoed in Greek tragedies, where characters often grapple with their fates, only to find that no amount of struggle can alter the course set by time. But the Greeks also recognized another dimension of time, Kairos, the god of opportune moments. Unlike Chronos, who represents the steady, unrelenting flow of time, Kairos embodies those fleeting, perfect moments, the right time to act, to speak, to seize an opportunity. He's often depicted with a lock of hair hanging over his forehead, symbolizing how easy it is to miss him if you're not paying attention. This duality between Chronos and Kairos shows how the Greeks understood time not just as a quantitative measure, but as a qualitative experience. It wasn't just how much time you had, but how you used it. This linear view of time, with its emphasis on destiny and inevitability, stands in stark contrast to other mythological traditions. And as we'll soon see, not every culture saw time as a straight line. For instance, the Egyptians blended both linear and cyclical elements, creating a unique perspective that reflected their understanding of life, death, and rebirth. But before we explore that, let's take a moment to reflect. How does this Greek view of time resonate with our own experiences? Do we see time as an unyielding force, or do we find ourselves chasing those fleeting moments, hoping to catch Kairos by the hair? In the ancient world, few cultures contemplated the nature of time as deeply as the Egyptians. For them, time wasn't just a linear progression. It was a dynamic interplay between two powerful forces, Nehe and Jet. Nehe represented the cyclical, ever-repeating rhythms of life, the rising and setting of the sun, the phases of the moon, and the annual flooding of the Nile. Jet, on the other hand, stood for eternity, a timeless realm untouched by change. Together, these two concepts formed the backbone of how the Egyptians understood existence itself. This duality is beautifully illustrated in their mythology, particularly through the journey of Ra, the sun god. Each day, Ra would traverse the sky in his solar bark, bringing light and life to the world. But at sunset, his journey didn't end. It shifted into the underworld, where he navigated the dangers of the night to be reborn at dawn. This daily cycle mirrored the Egyptians' belief in Nehe, the endless repetition of life, death, and renewal. Yet, Ra's journey also hinted at Jet, the eternal, unchanging truth that lay beyond the cycles, a realm where time stood still. The Nile River itself became a living symbol of this duality. Every year, its predictable flooding brought fertile soil, ensuring the land's renewal and the people's survival. This natural cycle was so integral to Egyptian life that it shaped their understanding of time as something both cyclical and eternal. Even their concept of the afterlife reflected this idea. To the Egyptians, the afterlife wasn't a distant, abstract place. It was a timeless extension of existence, where the soul could exist in perfect harmony with the divine. But how did this dual concept of time influence their physical world? Look no further than the pyramids. These monumental structures weren't just tombs, they were cosmic gateways, aligned with celestial events like the rising of Sirius, the star associated with the Nile's flooding. The pyramid's precision in reflecting the heavens was no accident. It was a testament to the Egyptians' belief that earthly life and cosmic order were deeply intertwined. Through their architecture, they sought to bridge the gap between Nehe and Jet, between the temporal and the eternal. As fascinating as the Egyptian view of time is, it's just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Across the world, other cultures developed their own unique interpretations of time, each with its own layers of complexity. Take, for example, the Hindu tradition, where time stretches far beyond the human scale into vast cosmic cycles. But that's a story for another moment. For now, let's pause and reflect on how the Egyptians' understanding of time, both cyclical and eternal, shaped not only their myths and monuments, but also their very perception of life and death. In Hindu mythology, time is not a straight line stretching endlessly into the future. It's a vast, spiraling cycle, endlessly repeating itself in a rhythm as old as the universe itself. At the heart of this cosmic dance are the Yugas, the great ages that define the ebb and flow of existence. Imagine time as a wheel forever turning, with each Yuga representing a different spoke in its eternal rotation. There are 4 Yugas: Satya, Treta, Dvapara, and Kali. Each age has its own distinct character, its own virtues and challenges, and together they form a cycle that repeats over and over, like the seasons of a cosmic year. The Satya Yuga, often called the Golden Age, is a time of truth, harmony, and divine wisdom. It's an era when humanity lives in perfect alignment with the universe, free from greed, conflict, or suffering. But as the wheel turns, the ages grow darker. The Treta Yuga brings the first shadows of imperfection, though righteousness still prevails. By the Dvapara Yuga, virtue and vice are in constant battle, and the world becomes more complex, more divided. Finally, we arrive at the Kali Yuga, the age we are said to inhabit now, a time of strife, ignorance, and spiritual decline. Yet even in this age of darkness, there is hope, for the wheel will turn again and the cycle will begin anew. This endless cycle of creation, preservation, and destruction is guided by the divine trinity of Hinduism: Brahma, the creator; Vishnu, the preserver; and Shiva, the destroyer. Each deity plays a crucial role in the cosmic drama of time. Brahma breathes life into each new cycle, Vishnu sustains it through its phases, and Shiva, in his cosmic dance, brings it to an end only to begin again. Shiva's dance, the Tandava, is a powerful metaphor for the interplay of time and eternity. In one hand, he holds a drum, symbolizing the rhythm of creation. In another, a flame, representing the destruction that makes way for renewal. It's a reminder that time is not just linear progression, but a dynamic, ever-changing force. This cyclical view of time stands in stark contrast to the Norse understanding, where time is finite and hurtling toward an inevitable end. But before we explore the Norse perspective, let's take a moment to reflect on the profound beauty of the Hindu vision. It's a worldview that embraces both the impermanence of the material world and the eternal nature of the soul, offering a sense of balance and continuity that resonates deeply across cultures and ages. In Norse mythology, time is not a never-ending cycle, but a march toward an inevitable conclusion, a cataclysmic event known as Ragnarok. This belief paints time as a linear journey, one that leads not just to destruction but also to rebirth. At the heart of this worldview lies Yggdrasil, the mighty world tree, a symbol that ties together all realms, weaving the fabric of time and space into a single, interconnected tapestry. Yggdrasil's roots stretch into the past, its trunk stands firm in the present, and its branches reach toward a future that is both terrifying and inevitable. The Norse gods themselves are bound by this unyielding timeline. Odin, the All-Father, spends his days gathering knowledge and preparing for Ragnarok, fully aware that even his wisdom cannot alter the course of fate. Loki, the trickster, plays his part in bringing about the end, his actions setting the stage for the final battle. Yet, neither god can escape what is written. They are players in a story whose ending has already been decided. This fatalistic view of time is embodied by the Norns, mysterious beings who sit at the base of Yggdrasil, weaving the threads of destiny for gods and mortals alike. Their work is relentless, their decisions final, and their loom spins the inevitable. Ragnarok itself is not just an end but a transformation. The world will burn, the seas will rise, and the gods will fall in battle, but from the ashes a new world will emerge. Time, in this sense, is both destroyer and creator, a force that clears the old to make way for the new. It's a perspective that reflects the harsh realities of Norse life, where survival often depended on accepting the inevitability of change and loss. This Norse vision of time as a linear march toward destruction and renewal stands in stark contrast to other cultural beliefs. And as we leave the frozen realms of the Norse, we find ourselves drawn to the ways indigenous cultures see time not as a straight line but as a deeply connected part of nature, where past, present, and future are intertwined in a living, breathing relationship. For many indigenous cultures, time is not a rigid line or a ticking clock. It's alive, dynamic, and deeply connected to the rhythms of the natural world. Take the Hopi people of North America, for example. To them, time is not something that marches forward in strict, linear fashion. Instead, it's a living entity woven into the fabric of existence where the past, present, and future are all happening simultaneously. This idea might sound abstract at first, but when you look at their rituals and ceremonies, it becomes clear. The Hopi's agricultural cycles, for instance, are tied to the seasons, not just as a practical guide for planting and harvesting, but as a way of honoring the interconnectedness of all life. Time, in this sense, is not something to be measured, it's something to be experienced. Similarly, the Aboriginal Australians have a profound concept known as Dreamtime or Alturinga. Dreamtime isn't just a myth or a story, it's a timeless realm where the past, present, and future coexist. It's the foundation of their entire worldview, a place where ancestral beings shaped the land, the rivers, and the stars. For the Aboriginal people, Dreamtime is not something that happened long ago and was left behind. It's happening right now, all around us, in the patterns of the seasons, the songs of the birds, and the stories passed down through generations. Their rituals, like the seasonal ceremonies that mark the arrival of rain or the flowering of certain plants, are not just about survival, they're about maintaining harmony with the living world. Time in this context is not linear, it's cyclical, a dance of creation and renewal. What's striking about these indigenous perspectives is how deeply they emphasize connection to the land, to each other, and to the cosmos. Their myths and rituals aren't just about explaining the world, they're about living in balance with it. For instance, the Hopi's snake dance, a ceremony to bring rain, isn't just a plea for water, it's a way of aligning human actions with the natural order. And the Aboriginal practice of storytelling isn't just about preserving history, it's about keeping the Dreamtime alive, ensuring that the wisdom of the ancestors continues to guide the present and the future. These traditions remind us that time isn't something to be conquered or controlled. It's something to be respected, something that flows through us and connects us to everything around us. This holistic understanding of time stands in stark contrast to the way many modern societies approach it. Instead of seeing time as a resource to be managed or a commodity to be spent, indigenous cultures see it as a living force, one that requires reverence and care. It's a perspective that invites us to slow down, to listen to the world around us, and to recognize that we are part of something much larger than ourselves. As we move from these indigenous traditions to the Chinese perspective, we find another fascinating way of thinking about time, one that blends mythology, philosophy, and the natural world into a seamless whole. The Chinese concept of time, deeply rooted in the cycles of yin and yang, offers yet another lens through which to see the intricate dance of past, present, and future. But that's a story for the next part of our journey. In Chinese mythology, time is not a linear march but a harmonious dance of opposites, a delicate balance between the forces of yin and yang. This duality shapes everything from the cycles of day and night to the turning of the seasons, creating a rhythm that governs the natural and cosmic order. At the heart of this balance is the lunar calendar, a system deeply tied to the moon's phases and rooted in the belief that time is cyclical, not a straight line. Each new moon marks a fresh beginning, a reminder that time is ever renewing, just as the seasons return year after year. Central to this cosmic harmony is the Jade Emperor, the supreme ruler of heaven and earth. In Chinese mythology, he oversees the universe, ensuring that the balance between yin and yang remains intact. But he is not alone in this task. Deities like Zi, the mother of the suns, and Chang, the moon goddess, play vital roles in maintaining the celestial order. Together, they embody the interconnectedness of time, nature, and the divine. Festivals like the Lunar New Year highlight how deeply this cyclical view of time is woven into Chinese culture. This celebration isn't just about marking the passage of days. It's a time to honor ancestors, reset intentions, and invite good fortune for the year ahead. The Lunar New Year is a vivid reminder that time is not just a measure but a gift, an opportunity for renewal and reflection. Yet, time can also be a challenge, as seen in the myth of the 10 suns. According to legend, there were once 10 suns that took turns crossing the sky, each representing a day in the 10-day week. But one day, all 10 suns rose at once, scorching the earth and threatening to destroy life itself. The hero Howie, a skilled archer, saved humanity by shooting down 9 of the suns, restoring balance and ensuring the survival of the world. This story illustrates how time, while a gift, requires careful stewardship and respect for its power. As we explore these rich traditions, we begin to see time not just as a force but as a living, breathing entity shaped by myth and meaning. And just as the Chinese view of time reflects a balance of opposites, the Aztecs saw time as a cosmic struggle, a battleground where order and chaos clashed in an eternal dance. Let's turn now to their fascinating perspective, where time was both a creator and a destroyer, a force as unpredictable as it was essential. The Aztecs saw time not as a linear progression, but as a delicate, ever-shifting balance that required constant effort to maintain. To them, time was a fragile thread woven by the gods, and it was humanity's sacred duty to ensure it didn't unravel. This belief was deeply tied to their understanding of the cosmos, where the gods demanded sacrifice, often in the form of human life, to keep the universe in harmony. Without these offerings, they feared the world would descend into chaos and time itself would cease to flow. It's a perspective that might feel alien to us today, but for the Aztecs, it was the very foundation of their existence. At the heart of their worldview was their intricate calendar system, a marvel of ancient engineering and spirituality. The Aztec calendar wasn't just one system but 2, intricately interwoven: the Zu Pohuali, a solar calendar of 365 days, and the Tonal Pohuali, a ritual calendar of 260 days. These cycles didn't just mark the passage of days, they dictated everything from agricultural cycles to religious ceremonies. Each day was imbued with its own spiritual significance, and the alignment of these calendars was believed to hold immense power. Priests would consult them to determine auspicious times for planting, warfare, or even personal decisions like marriage. But perhaps the most striking aspect of Aztec timekeeping is the myth of the 5 suns. According to their cosmology, the world had been created and destroyed 4 times before the current era, each ending in catastrophic events like floods, hurricanes, and fire. We now live under the 5th sun, a time of uncertainty where the gods sacrificed themselves to create a new world. Yet even this era is not eternal. It too will one day meet its end, collapsing under the weight of its own impermanence. This cyclical view of time, where destruction and rebirth are inevitable, shaped the Aztecs' daily lives and their relationship with the divine. This belief in time's fragility was reflected in their architecture, most notably in the Templo Maya, the grand temple at the heart of their capital, Tenochtitlan. The temple was not just a place of worship but a physical representation of their cosmology. Its twin shrines, dedicated to the gods of rain and war, symbolized the duality of creation and destruction. Every stone, every step was a reminder of the god's sacrifice and humanity's role in maintaining cosmic order. Rituals performed here, often involving blood and sacrifice, were seen as essential acts to keep time moving forward, ensuring the sun would rise again and the cycles of life would continue. As we step back from the Aztec view of time, we see a culture deeply attuned to the rhythms of the universe, where every moment was sacred and every action carried weight. But what if time itself is an illusion? This brings us to the Buddhist perspective, where time is not a fixed entity but a construct of the mind, a fleeting illusion that distracts us from the eternal present. How does this contrast with the Aztec understanding, and what can it teach us about the nature of existence? Let's explore this next. In Buddhist thought, time is not a fixed, linear progression, but rather a fluid, interconnected experience. The past, present, and future are seen as intertwined, each moment arising and dissolving in a continuous flow. This perspective challenges the way we often think about time as something that can be measured or held onto. Instead, Buddhism teaches that time is a mental construct shaped by our perceptions and attachments. The concept of dependent origination plays a key role here, emphasizing that all things, including time, arise in dependence on causes and conditions. Nothing exists independently and nothing lasts forever. This impermanence is at the heart of the Buddhist understanding of time. One of the most vivid ways this idea is illustrated is through the parable of the mustard seed. A grieving mother, seeking help for her deceased child, approaches the Buddha. He tells her to bring him a mustard seed from a household that has never experienced death. As she searches, she realizes that every family has lost someone they love. Through this journey, she comes to understand the universality of impermanence, how all things, including time, are fleeting and interconnected. This story beautifully captures the Buddhist teaching that clinging to the past or anxiously anticipating the future only creates suffering. True liberation comes from embracing the present moment, free from the illusion of time. Mindfulness practices are central to this philosophy. By focusing on the here and now, practitioners aim to transcend the mental constructs of past and future, recognizing them as mere projections of the mind. This doesn't mean ignoring history or planning for the future, but rather seeing them as part of the same ever-changing tapestry. The cycle of samsara, the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, further reinforces this idea. Time in this context is not a straight line but a repeating spiral, where each moment is both unique and deeply connected to all others. As we reflect on these teachings, it's fascinating to see how they contrast with other cultural views of time. For instance, while Buddhism sees time as an illusion to be transcended, the ancient Mayans viewed time as a sacred, calculable force, a concept we'll explore next. Their intricate calendars and cosmic cycles reveal a completely different way of understanding time's role in the universe. Whether seen as fleeting or eternal, time continues to be one of humanity's most profound mysteries. The Mayans saw time as something far more than a simple measure of days and years. They believed it was a sacred force, woven into the fabric of the universe and governed by precise mathematical calculations. For them, time wasn't linear, it was cyclical, moving in grand patterns that repeated themselves over eons. At the heart of this belief was their long count calendar, a complex system that tracked time on a scale far beyond our modern Gregorian calendar. This calendar wasn't just a tool for marking days. It was a way to predict cosmic events, from eclipses to the alignment of planets, and to understand the divine order of the universe. What made the long count calendar so remarkable was its accuracy. The Mayans calculated time in units called baktons, each representing 144,000 days. These units stacked up to create a timeline that stretched back millions of years, allowing them to pinpoint significant celestial events with astonishing precision. Their ability to map the stars and predict astronomical phenomena wasn't just practical, it was spiritual. They believed that by understanding these cycles, they could align themselves with the will of the gods and ensure harmony between the earthly and the divine. Central to this cosmic order was Itzamna, the Mayan god of creation and time. Revered as the ruler of the heavens, Itzamna was thought to oversee the cycles of time, ensuring that the universe remained in balance. His influence extended beyond the skies and into the daily lives of the Mayan people, shaping their rituals, agriculture, and even their architecture. Temples like the iconic El Castillo at Chichen Itza were designed with celestial events in mind. During the equinoxes, the play of light and shadow on its steps creates the illusion of a serpent slithering down the pyramid, a visual representation of the god Kukulkan, closely tied to Itzamna descending to earth. These alignments weren't coincidental, they were deliberate acts of reverence connecting the physical world to the spiritual rhythms of time. The Mayan understanding of time wasn't just an abstract concept, it was a lived experience that permeated every aspect of their culture. Their calendars guided when to plant crops, when to hold ceremonies, and even when to wage war. Time, for the Mayans, was a bridge between the human and the divine, a way to navigate the mysteries of existence. As we move from the mathematical precision of the Mayans, we find ourselves stepping into a different worldview altogether. Across the Atlantic, in the diverse cultures of Africa, time takes on a more communal and relational dimension. Here, time isn't just measured by the movement of celestial bodies, but by the rhythms of human life, the cycles of birth, growth, and community. It's a perspective that shifts our focus from the cosmic to the intimately personal, offering yet another fascinating lens through which to understand the mythology of time. In many African cultures, time isn't seen as a straight line, but as a rich tapestry woven together by the threads of the past, present, and future. It's a communal experience deeply intertwined with the lives of ancestors and the traditions passed down through generations. Think of it as a living conversation between those who came before, those who are here now, and those yet to be born. This interconnected view of time is often tied to the wisdom of deities like Anansi, the trickster spider, and Niam, the sky god. Anansi, known for his cleverness, often blurs the lines between past and present through his stories, while Niam oversees the cosmic order, ensuring that time flows in harmony with the natural and spiritual world. Storytelling plays a pivotal role in this cultural framework. It's not just entertainment, it's a way of preserving history, teaching lessons, and connecting the community to its roots. Griots, or storytellers, are the keepers of this temporal bridge, using oral traditions to pass down knowledge that keeps the past alive in the present. Rituals and ceremonies further reinforce this connection. Take, for example, the Yam festival celebrated by the Akan people. This event isn't just about giving thanks for the harvest, it's a moment to honor ancestors, acknowledge their influence on the present, and ensure their blessings for the future. Time here is cyclical, a continuous loop where the past informs the present, and the present shapes what's to come. This holistic understanding of time is also evident in how African cultures approach life's milestones. Birth, adulthood, marriage, and death are not isolated events but part of a larger, interconnected journey. Each stage is marked by ceremonies that remind the community of their shared history and collective future. It's a perspective that emphasizes unity and continuity, where time is not something to be conquered or measured, but something to be experienced and shared. As we shift our focus from the communal and cyclical view of time in African mythology, we find a similar but distinct perspective in the Celtic tradition. Here, time is often symbolized as a spiral, a never-ending journey that loops back on itself while moving forward, but that's a story for the next section. In Celtic mythology, time doesn't move in a straight line, it spirals. Picture a winding path where the past, present, and future are not separate but intertwined, constantly influencing one another. This spiral view of time reflects the natural cycles of life, death, and rebirth that were central to the Celtic worldview. It's a concept that feels almost alive, where every moment is connected to what came before and what will come after. At the heart of this cyclical understanding of time were powerful deities like Cernunnos, the horned god of the wild, and the Morrigan, the shape-shifting goddess of fate and war. Cernunnos symbolized the eternal cycle of nature, often depicted with antlers that shed and regrow, mirroring the seasons themselves. The Morrigan, on the other hand, was a guide through the darker aspects of existence, overseeing the transitions between life and death. Together, these deities represented the balance of creation and destruction, reminding the Celts that endings were always the seeds of new beginnings. This belief in renewal was deeply tied to the rhythms of the earth, celebrated through seasonal festivals like Samhain and Beltane. Samhain, marking the end of the harvest and the beginning of winter, was a time when the veil between the worlds of the living and the dead grew thin. It wasn't just a moment to honor ancestors, but also a reminder of the cyclical nature of existence. Beltane, on the other hand, celebrated the arrival of summer, a time of fertility and growth, symbolizing the earth's rebirth. These festivals weren't just celebrations, they were markers of time, grounding the Celts in the ever-turning spiral of life. One of the most vivid symbols of this belief in transformation is the myth of the cauldron of rebirth. This magical cauldron, often associated with the goddess Ceridwen, had the power to restore life. Warriors who fell in battle could be placed in the cauldron and returned to life, though often changed in some profound way. It wasn't just a story of resurrection, it was a metaphor for the endless cycle of renewal, where death was merely a step in the process of transformation. As we leave the spiraling time of the Celts, we find ourselves stepping into another ancient world, one where time is shaped by a cosmic struggle. In Persian mythology, time isn't a spiral but a battlefield where the forces of light and darkness are locked in an eternal struggle. This duality, this tension, offers a completely different perspective on how time and existence are understood. But that's a story for the next chapter. In Persian mythology, time is not just a measure of moments passing, it's a cosmic battleground where light and darkness clash in eternal struggle. At the heart of this belief is Zoroastrianism, one of the world's oldest religions, which paints time as a dualistic force shaped by two opposing powers: Ahura Mazda, the embodiment of light and wisdom, and Angra Mainyu, the spirit of darkness and chaos. This duality isn't just a philosophical idea, it's woven into every aspect of their worldview, from the way they understood the universe to the rituals they practiced in their daily lives. Central to this cosmic drama is Zervan, the god of infinite time. Unlike many deities who are tied to specific domains or actions, Zervan exists beyond the confines of beginnings and endings. He is the eternal backdrop against which the struggle between Ahura Mazda and Angra Mainyu unfolds. In Zoroastrian thought, time is not linear in the way we often think of it today. Instead, it's a cyclical process, a series of ages or eras where the forces of light and darkness rise and fall, locked in an unending conflict. This belief deeply influenced Zoroastrian rituals and celebrations. Take Nowruz, the Persian New Year, for example. It's not just a festival marking the arrival of spring. It's a symbolic renewal of the world, a moment when light triumphs over darkness, even if only temporarily. The rituals of Nora's, cleaning homes, lighting fires, and sharing meals, are all acts of purification and hope, reflecting the Zoroastrian vision of a world where light will ultimately prevail. But perhaps the most profound expression of this duality is found in the myth of the Saoshyant, a messianic figure destined to appear at the end of time. The Saoshyant is not just a savior, they are the embodiment of hope, the one who will lead the final battle against darkness and usher in an era of eternal light and harmony. This myth speaks to a deep belief in the ultimate triumph of good over evil, a belief that sustained the Zoroastrian people through centuries of hardship and change. As we move from the structured dualism of Persian mythology, we find ourselves entering a world where time takes on a very different form. In Polynesian traditions, time is not a battleground or a linear progression. It's a fluid, interconnected force woven into the very fabric of life. But that's a story for another moment. In Polynesian mythology, time is not a rigid, linear construct, but a living, breathing force that flows like the ocean itself. For these seafaring cultures, the past, present, and future are not separate entities, but interconnected threads woven into the same cosmic tapestry. Imagine time as a vast, ever-moving current. What happened long ago still ripples into the present, and the future is already shaping itself beneath the surface. This fluid understanding of time reflects their deep connection to nature, where cycles of creation, navigation, and survival are all part of a greater, unbroken rhythm. At the heart of this worldview is Maui, the trickster demigod whose exploits are legendary across Polynesian traditions. Maui's stories often revolve around his attempts to manipulate time itself, whether it's slowing the sun to lengthen the day or fishing up islands from the ocean floor. These myths aren't just tales of heroism, they're metaphors for humanity's relationship with time. Maui teaches that time is something to be navigated, not controlled, a lesson deeply ingrained in Polynesian culture through their mastery of celestial navigation. By reading the stars, winds, and waves, Polynesian voyagers could traverse vast distances, guided by an understanding that time and space are inseparable. Oral traditions play a crucial role in preserving this fluid sense of time. Stories passed down through generations aren't just histories, they're living connections to ancestors and the natural world. Creation myths like the story of Ranginui and Papatuanuku in Maori tradition illustrate this beautifully. The separation of the Sky Father and Earth Mother isn't just an event from the distant past, it's an ongoing relationship that continues to shape the world. Rituals and chants often invoke these stories, reinforcing the idea that the past is always present, guiding the actions of today and tomorrow. This holistic view of time also reveals itself in Polynesian navigation practices. When sailors set out across the Pacific, they weren't just moving through space, they were navigating time itself. The stars above were not static markers but dynamic guides, their positions shifting with the seasons. By understanding these celestial patterns, navigators could chart courses that honored the rhythms of the universe, embodying the belief that time is a partner, not an adversary. As we move from the fluid currents of Polynesian timekeeping, we find ourselves drawn to another culture that sees time as a natural rhythm, Japan. Here, time is deeply tied to the seasons, the cycles of life, and the impermanence of all things. A perspective that echoes Polynesia's interconnected worldview but with its own unique flavor. In Japan, time is not seen as a straight line but as a natural rhythm, deeply intertwined with the cycles of nature and the seasons. The Japanese concept of time is less about counting minutes and more about observing the flow of life itself. This perspective is rooted in their ancient mythology, where deities like Amaterasu, the sun goddess, and Tsukuyomi, the moon god, play pivotal roles in governing the passage of time. Amaterasu, with her radiant light, symbolizes the day and the warmth of life, while Tsukuyomi's serene glow represents the night and the quiet reflection of the soul. Together, they embody the balance of light and darkness, day and night, creating a harmonious rhythm that guides the world. This connection to nature is celebrated through festivals that honor the beauty of time's fleeting moments. Take Hanami, for example, the cherished tradition of viewing cherry blossoms. Each spring, people gather under the delicate pink blooms, fully aware that their beauty is temporary. This celebration is not just about admiring flowers, but about embracing the impermanence of life itself. Similarly, Tsukumi, the moon viewing festival, invites people to pause and appreciate the autumn moon, a reminder of time's cyclical nature and the quiet elegance of change. One of the most poignant expressions of this philosophy is found in the myth of the weaving princess and the cowherd. Oriheim, the weaving princess, and Hikoboshi, the cowherd, are star-crossed lovers separated by the Milky Way. They are allowed to meet only once a year on the 7th day of the 7th month, when a bridge of magpies forms across the heavens. This story speaks to the Japanese understanding of time as something precious and fleeting, a reminder to cherish the moments we have, no matter how brief they may be. This reverence for time's natural rhythm reflects a world view where every season, every phase of the moon, and every bloom of a flower holds profound meaning. It's a perspective that encourages us to slow down, to observe, and to find beauty in the impermanent. As we move forward, let's carry this wisdom with us as we explore another culture's understanding of time, one that sees it not as a line or a rhythm, but as a sacred circle. The Native American perspective offers a profound connection to the eternal cycles of life, where time is not something to be measured, but something to be lived deeply and reverently. For many Native American cultures, time isn't a straight line moving from past to future. It's a sacred circle, a never-ending loop where all of life is interconnected. This cyclical view of time reflects the natural world where seasons change, the sun rises and sets, and life itself follows patterns of birth, growth, death, and renewal. At the heart of this belief is the Great Spirit, the divine force that flows through everything, binding the earth, sky, and all living beings together. Time, in this sense, isn't something to be measured or controlled. It's a living, breathing rhythm that connects every part of existence. Animal guides play a vital role in this worldview, acting as messengers and teachers who help humans understand the flow of time. For example, the Lakota Sioux honor the buffalo as a symbol of abundance and the cycles of life, while the Navajo see the coyote as a trickster who reminds people to live in harmony with the natural order. These animals aren't just part of the landscape, they're spiritual companions, guiding humanity through the sacred circle of time. Rituals like the sun dance are central to honoring these cycles. The sun dance, practiced by tribes like the Cheyenne and Arapaho, is a profound ceremony that aligns human life with the rhythms of nature. Dancers fast, pray, and endure physical challenges to show their devotion and to renew the connection between the community, the earth, and the cosmos. It's a powerful reminder that time isn't just about the passing of days. It's about the balance and harmony of all things. Native American creation myths also reveal this holistic understanding of time. The Hopi, for instance, tell of a world that has gone through multiple cycles of creation and destruction, each one guided by the wisdom of the Great Spirit. Similarly, the Cherokee speak of the earth as a living being, where time is woven into the very fabric of existence. These stories aren't just tales from the past, they're living traditions that continue to shape how Native American communities understand their place in the world. This sacred circle of time invites us to see life not as a series of isolated moments, but as a continuous, interconnected flow. It's a perspective that reminds us to honor the cycles of nature, to listen to the wisdom of the earth, and to recognize our role within the larger web of life. As we explore these timeless traditions, we begin to see how deeply they resonate with our own search for meaning in the passage of time. And speaking of time as a gift, the Islamic tradition offers a unique perspective on the divine nature of time, a view that emphasizes its sacredness and purpose. In Islamic thought, time is not merely a measure of moments passing. It is a divine gift, a sacred trust bestowed by Allah. Every second, every breath is an opportunity to live with intention and purpose. Unlike the cyclical views of time found in some other cultures, Islam emphasizes the finite nature of our existence here on earth. Time is a resource, one that cannot be reclaimed once spent. This understanding is deeply woven into the fabric of Islamic teachings, reminding believers to use their days wisely, striving for good deeds and spiritual growth. Central to this concept is the Islamic lunar calendar, which governs the rhythm of religious life. Unlike the solar calendar, which follows the sun, the lunar calendar is tied to the cycles of the moon, marking sacred moments like Ramadan, the month of fasting, and Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca. These events are not just rituals, they are profound reminders of time's fleeting nature. During Ramadan, for example, Muslims fast from dawn to sunset, using the hours to reflect on their relationship with Allah and their purpose in life. It's a time to reset, to reconnect, and to remember that every moment is a blessing. Prayer, too, plays a vital role in understanding time's passage. The 5 daily prayers, or salah, are spread throughout the day, creating a rhythm that punctuates the hours with moments of reflection and gratitude. Each prayer is a pause, a chance to step out of the busyness of life and remember the divine source of time itself. This practice reinforces the idea that time is not ours to waste, it is a gift, and with it comes a responsibility to live with mindfulness and devotion. One of the most striking illustrations of time's transcendence in Islamic tradition is the story of the Prophet Muhammad's night journey, or Isra and Miraj. In this miraculous event, the Prophet traveled from Mecca to Jerusalem and then ascended through the heavens, experiencing realities beyond the constraints of earthly time. In a single night, he witnessed wonders that would take lifetimes to comprehend, a powerful reminder that time, as we understand it, is but a small part of a much greater divine plan. This story invites believers to consider time not just as a linear progression, but as a gateway to spiritual dimensions beyond human comprehension. As we reflect on the Islamic understanding of time, it's impossible not to draw parallels to other traditions that also see time as a sacred journey. In Christianity, for instance, time is often viewed as a linear path leading toward salvation, a narrative of creation, fall, and redemption. While the frameworks may differ, the underlying message is strikingly similar. Time is a gift, and how we use it defines our spiritual legacy. This connection between faiths reminds us that, across cultures and beliefs, humanity has always sought to understand the profound mystery of time, a mystery that continues to inspire reflection and reverence. In the Christian worldview, time is not a cycle that endlessly repeats, but a straight path, a journey with a clear beginning and an ultimate destination. This belief in linear time is rooted in the story of creation, where God brings the universe into existence and it moves forward with purpose toward the promised final judgment. Time in this context is seen as a sacred gift, a space where humanity's relationship with the divine unfolds. At the heart of this narrative is Jesus Christ, whose life, death, and resurrection are seen as the pivotal moment in history, the fulfillment of time itself. Through Christ, Christians believe the promise of eternal life is offered, transforming how time is understood and experienced. Liturgical seasons like Advent and Lent play a crucial role in marking this passage of time. Advent, the period leading up to Christmas, is a time of anticipation, reflecting on the coming of Christ and the hope of salvation. Lent, on the other hand, is a season of reflection and repentance, preparing believers for the celebration of Easter. These seasons are not just rituals, they are reminders of the sacredness of time and the call to live with intention and purpose. They invite Christians to pause, reflect, and align their lives with the deeper meanings embedded in the passage of time. One of the most striking illustrations of this urgency is found in the parable of the 10 virgins, where Jesus teaches about the importance of being prepared. In the story, 10 virgins await the arrival of the bridegroom. 5 are wise, bringing extra oil for their lamps, while 5 are foolish, unprepared for the delay. When the bridegroom finally arrives, only those who are ready are allowed into the feast. This parable underscores the Christian belief that time is finite and must be used wisely, with a focus on spiritual readiness and vigilance. It's a vivid reminder that the way we live in the present shapes our eternal future. As Christianity shaped the Western understanding of time, it laid the groundwork for how we perceive history, progress, and even the future. But as we move forward, the Christian view of time as a linear journey begins to intersect with another perspective, one rooted in observation, measurement, and the laws of the universe. This brings us to the modern scientific understanding of time, a concept that builds on ancient beliefs but introduces entirely new dimensions to how we comprehend this mysterious force. For centuries, the way we perceive time has been shaped by stories, gods, and cosmic cycles from cultures around the world. But as humanity began to unravel the mysteries of the universe through science, our understanding of time took a dramatic turn. Enter Sir Isaac Newton, the father of classical physics, who introduced the idea of absolute time. To Newton, time was like a cosmic river, steady, unchanging, and flowing uniformly in one direction. This concept of time as an objective, measurable force became the foundation of how we thought about the universe for hundreds of years. But then came Albert Einstein, and everything changed. Einstein's theory of relativity shattered Newton's idea of absolute time. Instead of a universal clock ticking the same way for everyone, Einstein showed that time is relative. It can stretch, compress, and even slow down depending on speed and gravity. Imagine you're on a spaceship traveling close to the speed of light. To you, time would feel normal, but for someone watching from Earth, your clock would appear to tick slower. This mind-bending concept forced us to rethink time not as a fixed backdrop, but as something deeply intertwined with space, forming the fabric of space-time. But the surprises didn't stop there. Quantum physics, the study of the tiniest particles in the universe, introduced even more complexity. At the quantum level, time becomes a murky, uncertain concept. Take Schrödinger's famous thought experiment with the cat in the box. According to quantum mechanics, until the box is opened, the cat exists in a superposition, alive and dead at the same time. This bizarre idea challenges our everyday experience of time as a linear, forward-moving force. In the quantum world, time doesn't always play by the rules we're used to. Adding to the puzzle is the concept of entropy, often referred to as the arrow of time. Entropy is the measure of disorder in a system, and it always increases over time. Think of it like a cup of coffee cooling down or an ice cube melting. These processes are irreversible because they move toward greater disorder. This gives time a direction, a flow from order to chaos. But here's the twist. While entropy explains why we experience time moving forward, it doesn't explain why time itself exists in the first place. So where does this leave us? On one hand, science has given us incredible tools to measure and manipulate time, from atomic clocks to GPS satellites. On the other, it's shown us that time is far more mysterious than we ever imagined. And as we peel back the layers, we start to see how the ancient myths of time cycles, creation, and destruction echo in the scientific concepts we explore today. Whether through the stories of gods or the equations of physicists, humanity has always sought to understand the nature of time, and perhaps in the intersection of mythology and science, we find the most profound insights of all. Picture this: ancient storytellers gazing at the stars, weaving tales of gods and cosmic cycles, while modern physicists peer through telescopes, unraveling the mysteries of the universe. Though separated by millennia, both myth and science share a common thread: a relentless drive to understand time. It's fascinating how these two worlds, seemingly so different, converge in their quest to explain the nature of existence. Let's take a closer look at this intersection where mythology and science meet. In many ancient cultures, time was seen as cyclical. Think of the Hindu concept of the cosmic dance of Shiva, where creation, preservation, and destruction repeat endlessly. Or the Greek myth of the phoenix, a bird that dies in flames only to rise again from its ashes. These stories reflect a belief in eternal recurrence, a notion that time loops in an infinite cycle. Now, fast forward to modern physics. The idea of cyclical time isn't just the stuff of myths, it's a concept that resonates in theories like the Big Bounce, which suggests our universe might be part of an endless cycle of expansion and contraction. Even the Big Bang Theory, often seen as a linear starting point, hints at the possibility of a larger, cyclical pattern underlying cosmic history. What's striking is how both mythology and science emphasize the interconnectedness of all things. Ancient myths often depict the universe as a living, breathing entity, where every action ripples through the fabric of existence. Modern science echoes this with theories like quantum entanglement, where particles separated by vast distances remain mysteriously linked. It's as if the stories of old were intuitive sketches of truths we're only now beginning to grasp through equations and experiments. Take creation myths, for example. From the Norse tale of Ymir's body forming the world to the Aboriginal Dreamtime stories of ancestral beings shaping the land, these narratives mirror the scientific narrative of the Big Bang, a singular moment from which everything emerged. Both perspectives, in their own way, grapple with the same profound question: how did everything begin? And in asking this, they remind us that time isn't just a measure of moments, it's the canvas on which the story of existence is painted. But this isn't just about abstract theories or ancient tales. The way we perceive time shapes how we live our lives. For cultures steeped in cyclical time, there's often a sense of renewal and continuity, a belief that what's lost will return, that endings are also beginnings. In contrast, the linear view of time, dominant in much of the modern world, emphasizes progress and change, pushing us to look forward rather than back. These perspectives aren't just philosophical, they influence everything from how we plan for the future to how we honor the past. As we bridge the gap between myth and science, we're reminded that understanding time isn't just about unraveling its mechanics, it's about connecting with something greater than ourselves. Whether through the poetic imagery of mythology or the precise calculations of physics, we're all seeking to make sense of our place in the vast, unfolding tapestry of existence. And perhaps in this shared quest, we find not just answers, but a deeper sense of wonder. Time is more than just a measurement, it's a force that shapes who we are, both individually and collectively. Across cultures and throughout history, the way we perceive and interact with time has profound implications for our mental health, productivity, and relationships. For instance, in many Western societies, time is often seen as linear and finite, a resource to be managed and optimized. This mindset can drive productivity, but also lead to stress, burnout, and a constant sense of urgency. On the other hand, some indigenous cultures view time as cyclical, emphasizing harmony with natural rhythms. This perspective fosters a deeper connection to the environment and a more balanced approach to life. Rituals and traditions play a crucial role in how we mark the passage of time, grounding us in shared experiences and cultural identity. Take, for example, the Japanese practice of hanami, or cherry blossom viewing. This annual tradition not only celebrates the fleeting beauty of spring, but also reminds participants of the transient nature of life itself. Similarly, in Mexico, Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, is a vibrant celebration that honors loved ones who have passed, blending remembrance with joy and creativity. These rituals help communities process the passage of time while reinforcing cultural bonds. On a personal level, how we perceive time can deeply influence our mental well-being. The pressure to make the most of every moment can create anxiety, while a more relaxed, cyclical understanding of time may encourage mindfulness and gratitude. Relationships, too, are shaped by our temporal perspectives. Cultures that prioritize long-term commitments and generational continuity often place greater emphasis on family and community, whereas societies focused on the present moment may value spontaneity and adaptability. As we reflect on these diverse approaches to time, it's clear that our understanding of it isn't just a philosophical concept, it's a lived experience that affects every aspect of our lives. From the way we celebrate milestones to how we navigate daily routines, time is woven into the fabric of our existence. These insights remind us that while time itself may be universal, the ways we interpret and honor it are beautifully varied. This diversity enriches our world, offering us new ways to connect, reflect, and grow. As we come to the end of our journey through the mythology of time, it's clear that across cultures, time has never been just a simple ticking clock. From the ancient Egyptians who saw time as a river flowing in endless cycles, to the Norse who envisioned it as a great tree connecting all realms, every civilization has woven its own tapestry of stories to explain the mysteries of time. These myths are not just relics of the past, they are windows into how humanity has grappled with the concept of time, shaping our understanding of existence itself. What's fascinating is how these ancient beliefs still echo in our modern world. The Mayan idea of time as a spiral where past and future are intertwined feels strikingly relevant in an age where we're constantly reflecting on history while racing toward the future. Even Einstein's famous words that time is an illusion, albeit a persistent one, remind us that our perception of time is deeply rooted in both science and storytelling. It's a reminder that time, as we know it, is as much about culture and imagination as it is about physics. So, what does all of this mean for us today? Perhaps it's an invitation to pause and reflect on our own relationship with time. Do we see it as a linear path, a cycle, or something more fluid? How do these ancient myths inspire us to think differently about the way we live our lives? It's a conversation worth having, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. Share in the comments how these myths resonate with you, or which cultural perspective on time fascinates you the most. And if you've enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to subscribe and join us for more deep dives into mythology and timeless topics. After all, time may be an illusion, but the stories we tell about it are very, very real.